Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Foreman, and this is the Lost V3 Squash It. This year, Lost has expanded the V3 Rocket line. The V3 Rocket continues in the line. Still a really popular board on the water. One of the best-selling boards that Lost made in 2014, and that trend is continuing in 2015. What they wanted to do with the V3 Rocket line is just like they did with the original lineup of the original Rocket, the Squash It, and the Grocket. They expanded the Rocket line so you can get that Rocket feeling in a board that other user groups like. So if they're looking for a specific style of surfing or performance characteristics, they can find it in one of those three models. The V3 Rocket doing so well last year, they carried it over to this year, but again expanding the Rocket family to fit different user groups. What we're holding here is the V3 Squash It, and this board is a little bit different than the V3 Rocket, and what they did with this board is they're trying to get a little bit more of a high-performance shortboard feel in a Rocket style board. And so compared to the standard V3 Rocket, you're going to see that the nose is narrower here in the front of the board. Also on the tail of the board, instead of having the double wing Rocket tail, it has a double wing standard squash. So for a few different groups of people, there's some people that just like straight up like the look of a squash tail and like the performance of a squash tail, and they don't want to tech out more than that. The V3 Squash It would be a great board to look at. When you narrow the nose of the board, you're reducing the area and the swing weight in the turn. So this board is going to have a more crisp turn, a faster flick off the top of the wave. You're basically swinging less foam around in the turns. Also, really late drops or hollow waves, it's going to not hook on that more bulleted out nose in the front of the board. When you go to the squash tail, compared to the standard Rocket tail, it does a couple different things. One is it reduces the area of the tail, so the board's going to sit down and be more neutral in the water, and which is going to allow you to be more precise in your turns, and then also in your positioning, tighten the pocket. The other thing that it does is it squares off the tail block, which gives the board a more pivotal turn. So the reason that a lot of people like squash tails is they like that crisp pivot off the top of the wave. This board, of all the Rocket boards, will have the most crisp and tight pivot off the top of the wave because of that squash tail, and then also because it's going to sit in the water a little bit deeper. If you looked at the standard Rocket tail, the points would be out to about here, and then it would also then go into the round part of the tail, which would end about here. So by squaring that off and by taking off this extra area, it just sits down in the water. It's a little bit more neutral. It's going to allow you to have more control over the board at higher speeds and the exact positioning of the board. This board is said to be, you know, the closest looking to a high-performance shortboard, and when you look at it, it basically looks like a double wing squash high-performance shortboard. That's because you're not looking side by side at a standard high-performance shortboard. It's a little bit fuller in the nose than a standard shortboard. It's a little bit wider. I would say the number one difference would be the rocker line. The center line rocker is a little bit more relaxed compared to a standard shortboard. So what that means is the board will glide better, both with less input from the surfer, but also across flatter sections in the wave. And what these wings do compared to a standard shortboard is you're looking at about the tail block of a standard shortboard, and if they didn't have these wings but had the same width, you could basically draw a straight line from the max width to this corner, and it would eliminate all of this extra area out here, and specifically right here at the fins. And so what that does is for the low end of the board, if you need low end of the board and you need to step off the tail pad to like right in front of the tail pad, you have a significantly wider board here than you do here. And so what it basically does is it gives you two boards or two sections of the board to work off of. Tighter turns here, or like all high speed and driving forward here. But if you have a mushy section of the wave or a slower section of the wave, you can move a little bit forward or even lean a little bit forward and engage this extra part of the board in the water, and it's going to give you more float, more lift, and more glide. This board is the lowest volume size per size. Like, so if you lined up a 6.0 V3 Rocket, a 6.0 V3 Round It, and a 6.0 V3 Squash It, and looked at the numbers, this one is going to be slightly lower in volume. It's not, you know, mind-blowingly lower in volume. It's going to be, you know, a half a liter or maybe a liter smaller. But basically why that's happening is because they're just losing a little bit of that nose area and tail area, and then a little bit more foil in the rails compared to the standard V3 Rocket. Again, not like so far out there that it's going to be hard to surf or going to be finicky or very focused on a specific set of conditions. Just this is the board that they wanted to have it be the most precise handling and the most neutral of the 3 Rocket boards. It's a V3 Squash It. We talked a little bit about this with the V3 Round It. When you're purchasing one of these boards, it's not like you're going to have multiple rockets like in a single quiver. What people will do is they'll gravitate towards either the aesthetics or their personal taste. Like, I like a round tail, I like a squash tail, or I like a rocket tail. Or they'll hone in on the performance of one of those boards, and they'll say that's the performance that I'm looking for in that rocket range of surf. And then you end up, purchasing and having that one rocket in your quiver. So for those surfers that are looking for that squash tail performance, looking for that really crisp, tight pivotal turn off the top of the wave, and then like the benefits of this board compared to a standard shortboard, V3 Squash It is definitely something to check out. It's available in the whole range of sizes and constructions like the V3 Rocket and V3 Round It as well. And if you have any other questions on this board or looking for more information, you can read the real review written up below this video at realwatersports.com/surfing, or you can give us a call at the shop. Thanks for watching.